All right, welcome to the show, everybody. We got a show for you. I'm Donald W. Moore. I started Get Off My Lawn Records. I just want to get this out of the way. Hit subscribe. Pretty please hit subscribe. We're at what, 79 subscribers right now. We're trying to get to our 100. So please hit subscribe and help a friend hit subscribe. And thumbs up. Right? Thumbs up. We got a really good show for you today. Yeah, let's get started. So, that's who the bleep I am. I started the label. I host the show. I'm pretty sure everybody knows who I am. But who the bleep are you?
I'm the Cody. I am a mod on Reddit's synthesizer subreddit. I am a synth freak, and I make electronic music.
That's pretty cool. And you got a duo project we're going to do.
Yeah.
That's right. That's going to be great. You're a mod on
r/synthesizers.
Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, that's Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit.
I don't Reddit. I should Reddit.
It's just a forum. It's like Gear Sluts, only,
Well, so anybody of the Gear Sluts family that's watching, I am taking a break. I got an infraction for posting links to this channel. So Gear Sluts doesn't want my content. And later in the show, Gear Sluts will regret that. Especially next week. Next week's going to be a lot of fun. So, if anybody on Gear Sluts is watching, I'm okay. Psycho Monkey has my email. You can just ask him for my email, and you can get in touch. Or leave a comment, get in touch through the Facebook. There's a bigger world than Gear Sluts.
That's Reddit.
There's Reddit. Maybe one of these days I'll do an AMA, but not enough people know who I am to care about my AMA. So
that's what the hundreds of subscribers are for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's what the subscribers are for. And I will totally Ken Bone it, and whatever I do my AMA with, I will because I just assume I'm public at all times.
Well, yeah.
When I'm online, I'll rail against things I'll rail against, and I own my words. So if you're like, you're really political, yes, I am. But I try to keep this show from becoming political. We fail at it pretty consistently, but we try. So, and sitting next to the Cody is, who the bleep are you?
My name's George.
That's right.
I'm a recent computer science grad, and just started a gig at Southwestern University.
A gig. Now, you got to remember, you're in a room full of musicians, so are you playing on stage? Are you running sound? What kind of gig are you doing?
Pretty much they pay me to walk around the hallways and juggle all the time, 8 hours a day. I'm the entertainment, the jester. I perform for everyone.
There you go. You're the traveling minstrel.
If you would want to call me that, sure.
It's actually, I found out that being a musician in the Middle Ages was also hard. And there were the minstrels. And they had to be able to juggle and tell jokes and do bird calls. And they had to have, trained animals and play music. And they had to do all these things. And it was just dance for me, monkey.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Being good at all those things and entertaining?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a career.
Well, because you got to remember, you were performing for soldiers. And if they didn't like you, off with your head.
Yeah.
So you just worked hard. And then what happened is eventually all of the wealthy elite, their children said, oh, I really want to be a musician. And they became the troubadours. And it turns out that in was it the Renaissance or right before the Renaissance, very early Renaissance, late Middle Ages, the troubadours invented a form of battle rapping.
Oh, yes.
That's pretty
Seriously,
cool,
okay.
isn't it?
Yeah.
How things shift and shift. Mm-hmm. And sitting there with hashtag RegalCat, everybody who tweets hashtag RegalCat this week, I will figure out how to get you I will pick somebody and I'll figure out how to get them a download card. Who the bleep are you?
I am the specter of your doom.
The specter of my doom.
Yes.
So when you said till death do us part, did you realize you were setting a goal?
A little bit.
Okay. And we got our contracts finished up.
We did.
So the contract's going up on the website this week. Everybody's recording contract. I'm not playing this, we all negotiate. It's, I have costs, I get the costs back, and then all the other money is just split evenly. It's the most equitable way to do it. So, and what I'm doing that's different is I'm publishing the contract itself. The audience will be able to know what these musicians are getting themselves into. For years, there's been this, like, specter of secrecy over the music industry. And then these guys, there's some really interesting guys like Moses Avalon, who wrote a book called Confessions of a Record Producer. They would blow the doors off of the secrecy behind the music industry. And I use that kind of sarcastically, but at the time it's fitting because it was very, very opaque. Steve Albini wrote a great article back in the day about how badly a band gets screwed if they only sell 250,000 copies.
Yeah.
They make about $500.
That's insane.
That's insane.
They're getting very underpaid for that.
Right. But then if they sold 4 million, they'd get more. So,
Yeah.
But not much.
not much.
Not much, really.
So we try to do it a little differently. We try to split everything evenly. I don't want to make any more than anybody who plays on the record, and we calculate it by track so that, like the duo piece, there's fewer ways to split that piece, but
That seems like a pretty fair way to do it.
that's the whole
Simple,
goal.
too.
Is simple, fair. It's a 4-page document.
And it's transparent, which is...
And it's as transparent as it can be. We're doing this thing called the project parameters document, where I kind of outline when the recording dates will be, who's going to play on what, how many tapes we're going to use. And, tapes are $2 a piece, so like we need to document all this, and then after the album's released, I'm going to publish the project parameters document as well. Just put it out for everybody who cares.
How much it costed to make
Yeah.
the album?
Not just cost, but like how much time went into the album, how much physical material went into the album, that sort of thing. But a lot of it will be like the recording dates, who played on what. That'll be very cool. It'll be like access to additional liner notes, if you will, in this world of instant downloads. The reality is that I want to make sure everybody at least gets sufficient credit. Where you used to buy a CD, and while you're listening to it, you open up the booklet and you pull out your magnifying glass because it's not an LP, and you go, "Ooh, look, ooh, Duck Dunn's playing on this one," And
It's been years since I've bought a CD.
that breaks my heart.
I buy stuff on Bandcamp a lot.
I will tell you, I'm making the Get Off My Lawn records will be the kind of CDs that people want to buy. The challenge is we can't just like make these cheesy plasticky CD cases. We're doing the Get Off My Lawn Artisan Sound Series because let's face it, I'm a hipster, and
Disco Duck is a hipster. That's surprising to me.
So, but I'm gonna hand make really nice like digipacks with pop-ups, and
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't want to overpromise because I'm not quite sure what they'll be, but they're gonna be handmade, and I'm gonna pay either myself or somebody else $15 an hour to make them. And we'll see who's gonna design them. If I have to design them, I will. Otherwise, if somebody's good at that sort of thing, get in touch. So that's who the bleep we are, and kind of why the bleep you should care about what we're doing here. So what's next? Section 2. Do you give a bleep? Do you want to explain the premise?
Basically, I have been tasked with finding stories that are clickbait.
Yep. And we tried doing the daily clips. Cody, I tried doing last week as do you give a bleep, just as a big one. I think I'm going to bombard your news feed for 5 videos once a week.
You don't want to split them out on days?
Really? You
No,
try it
because
one week and you give up?
No. We've been doing daily clips. Like, we do 5 stories, and we do the daily clip.
Yeah.
Or we do the individual clips, Kim Kardashian had her jewels stolen. Put your hand up. I'll put a card to that one. Like, but each one of those, but then, so you compile 5 of them.
Yes.
And then on Monday, 5 videos go up sequentially. And it just kind of takes over that little section of your subscription list, but we'll only do that once a week. And I'm getting better at doing thumbnails, so you'll be able to differentiate them a little better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like more than half of my media consumption is YouTube, and
Yeah.
almost all of that is via my TV.
Yeah, that's true.
So
So that's the overview. What's our first story?
First story, because the world is a horrible, horrible, dark place.
It really is.
Longtime PBS anchor Gwen Ifill died at the age of 61 following months of cancer treatment. She was best known as being the moderator and managing editor for the PBS show Washington Week, as well as co-anchor of the PBS NewsHour.
Yep. And, you know, the thing about this election is it has made me totally skeptical of every establishment media. So,
Like, not just Fox News?
not just Fox News. Watching the way MSNBC has rallied around this, oh, it was the third party voters, oh, it was everybody but us, and they're not holding themselves accountable. I just don't give a bleep that some government propagandist died. Sorry. Do you give a bleep?
I mean, I know her name, so that's better than most anchors.
There you
And
go.
I give a bleep in the sense that people dying of cancer is awful, but
That's true.
for what she did, I literally only know her name.
You never watch PBS NewsHour?
I haven't watched TV in like 15, 20 years.
That's true. Though you have a great big TV in your living room.
Right, but I have
YouTube.
Amazon Fire TV,
Yeah.
and
Pimping
Netflix and
out
Hulu.
the Amazon products
Yeah,
for free?
For free.
and
Are you
Hulu and
getting paid for
Netflix
this?
and YouTube.
We should get
I
one of
have
those Amazon
streaming
affiliate links.
I have everything streaming. I
Yeah.
haven't had cable.
I'm a
ever.
YouTube guy. I do almost everything on YouTube. I tend to sleep to Netflix because it'll autoplay,
Yeah.
but I tend to just watch YouTube. George, do you give a bleep?
I give a bleep in the same
Okay.
sense that someone dying to cancer is a real bummer.
Yeah.
But I'm not emotionally connected to her, right? I haven't seen any of her stuff.
These are people we'll never know. We would have never known.
Never known her.
They
So
could've- she could've lived another 100 years.
I sympathize with what happened to her. That sucks. But
Yeah.
I don't empathize with it because I just don't have that connection.
That's right. So she can get off my lawn. What's next?
Sharon Jones, the Grammy-nominated soul and funk singer who led the Dap Kings, has died at the age of 60 after a bout with pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, this one I give a bleep about.
Yeah. Their song, What If We All Stopped Paying Taxes, became an anti-Iraq war anthem ahead of the 2002 elections.
If everybody went on tax strike, that would at least raise some eyebrows. But
Why not? Our president-elect did it.
yeah, but then the actual jackboots come out, you know? Like there's the implied thing. I don't, but yeah, I care. Though I'm not entirely familiar with her work. What else has she done?
I've literally never heard of her before.
It was mostly the Dap Kings, because she came to it rather late.
Mm.
You know, she'd been like a corrections officer at Rikers before.
I can imagine that's a difficult job. George, you give a bleep?
Same thing as I said earlier, right? Like dying to pancreatic cancer, that sucks.
Yeah.
So she was only known for Dap Kings, was it?
Pretty much. Like, she'd done some backup singing with some lesser known people. But yeah, she'd...
Fair enough.
What about her career as a corrections officer, right? Like,
Yeah, let's give a
what
bleep
kind
about
of
that.
prisoners
Oh, yeah.
was she looking over?
Let's get, and she was a corrections officer, and I wonder if she had any, like, incidents, any allegations. Probably not, right?
I
She's
mean-
probably one of the good corrections officers.
In the same way that I don't support wars, I don't support prisons, but I support the people going to war, and I support the people running,
working in
working
the
in the
prison.
prisons.
Yeah. Keeping inmates safe from
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
Yep. That makes sense. Now, we're not asking you if you give a bleep. Last week, you established you're just doing stories you give a bleep about. So,
Pretty much.
what's next?
Because, you know, you give me no feedback.
Is this part of the marriage? You guys talk about this?
Yeah.
On your time off? Okay.
Yeah, this is foreplay.
Don,
I'm, of course.
Just wait for us to leave after we're done.
Yeah. No, Don always claims that the day we get divorced is the day this podcast goes viral. So,
It's true.
What led up to it?
The podcast itself.
Yes.
Trying to start a record label in 2016. That's what led up to it. What are we talking about?
What are we talking about?
Yeah, what's this one?
What's number 3?
Yeah.
Okay. The New York City Memorial Park, in honor of the late Beastie Boys member Adam Yauch, was defaced with graffiti and swastikas and the words "Go Trump" on Friday.
I have a prediction. I believe this video is going to get demonetized.
Probably.
Probably.
You can turn them into Windows 95 logos.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
That's how you love Trump's hate. And to really do it is you pull out your own can of spray paint and you make it a Windows 95 logo. Because we can't have this. Like,
There are words that I should not be saying right now because of how offensive they would be for how angered I am about that.
I am too.
I'm trying to figure out what is wrong with this country that
It's not the country.
No, it's the country. The simple election of a president has brought out the absolute worst of humanity. You know, we're talking the number of hate crimes, the number of physical assaults of women have jumped.
It's because the
following
sharks
the
smell
election.
blood in the water, right? We're not that far removed from sharks. What happens is that it's the same reason why protests turn into riots.
Are you mansplaining this to me?
Yeah. I'm mansplaining it to the audience. This is why protests turn into riots, right? This guy up in hopefully Trump doesn't screw it up too much, right? But the way he ran that campaign got a certain segment of the population totally riled up. And I say to them, get off my lawn. I give a bleep in that don't go graffiti for the sake of art is one thing. That what they did is not art. And I give a bleep. Cody, you give a bleep?
Absolutely.
George, you give a bleep?
I give a bleep, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Fuck
no.
Trump.
Thank you for thank you for getting us political again.
Graffitiing the
Like, I'm sure there
memorial
are Trump
for it.
supporters I'd be okay with. I just, like, voted that way, you know? Chose to vote that way for whatever reason. But if you're going to go out and graffiti and do hate crimes and hurt people, I can't be a fan of that.
Yeah, and deliberately doing it to a Jewish artist. That's a
It's an actual hate crime.
yeah. That's
End of story.
That's a particular level of low that you
Yeah.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
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 All right, what's next?
Stanley Kubrick's daughter Vivian is spearheading an effort to raise funds for alien actress Shelley Duvall, who starred in her father's film The Shining. Kubrick is also trying to secure Duvall health insurance through the Screen Actors Guild. Duvall seems to be suffering from some sort of mental illness, and she appeared on the Dr. Phil show
Yeah.
last week.
Wait, why can't she get Obamacare?
Money.
Okay.
She's making too much money to be eligible.
You know,
She doesn't have
She
any
hasn't
money.
worked in like a decade.
Yeah.
Okay.
In which case she should qualify for Medicaid. But Medicaid doesn't do a great job with the mental health side of it.
Especially when she's in Texas.
She in Texas?
She's in Texas.
Mental problems don't exist in Texas.
Yeah.
Well,
Because,
just because
then
relative, everybody's normal.
You'd have to. That would disqualify half of our state legislature.
That's very true.
I haven't watched the clip of her on Dr. Phil because I don't want to.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, but I'm planning.
It's exploitive.
I'm
It
planning
is horribly
on
exploitive.
Kubrick's granddaughter,
Daughter.
Vivian, was it?
Daughter. Yeah.
She's got a GoFundMe for it, and I'm planning on donating. I just haven't had a chance yet.
Got it. So when I put the video up, you make sure you make a comment. I'll pin your comment to the top. Make sure you get us the link for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George, you give a bleep?
I give a bleep. I'm just curious why she's not getting insurance through the Screenwriters Guild, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's
Why
that's
is
what
she
they're
not?
because she hasn't worked in a decade.
Okay. So they're not willing to pay benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
make
not
any sense
Congress.
because she did lots of work in the 70s and 80s, like a lot. And the fact that they have essentially snubbed her because she hasn't worked, even though she's essentially retired,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense. That's the point of a union, is to...
It's a guild, not a union.
Different sameness.
I know. Yeah, and you give a bleep.
Yeah.
We all give a bleep. What's next?
This one is the one you wanted to discuss.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
This week, the movie The Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them came out.
That's right.
Okay.
And when did Man Down come out? Because it's related.
Man Down came out in 2015, but it was an independent film, so I think it's been gradually gaining release from what I could find.
Anyway, so here's how the story goes. On Thursday night, I was hired by the Alamo Drafthouse to play in their lobby. They were doing a Roaring 20s party for the release of Fantastic Beasts, because it's set in the 20s. I don't know how Harry Potter can be set in the 20s, but I'm just there to play guitar, right? So I'm sitting there playing guitar, and there's this table set up, and they said, "Oh, Shia LaBeouf's here." I said, "Oh, really? Can I meet him?" They're like, "No." I'm like, see? I learned all about how minstrels and troubadours were. I am not allowed to be the star, which is fine.
The royalty.
You're right. And so we go about our... So I let the band know, I'm like, don't pester Shia LaBeouf. And then as we're playing the night, right, we play for 3 hours. 3 hours. How many bands play for 3 hours? How many bands can play for 3 hours?
I've heard stories that Morbid Angel will play for 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we're playing, and out walks this guy in a full beard and a hat, like a Navy hat. And he had some kind of T-shirt with like a mechanic's, like a mechanic shop, an auto shop T-shirt on. And he's yelling as he walks by, "Yeah! Yeah!" You know, he was just having a real good time. And that was him. That was Shia LaBeouf. So he did this twice. He went by twice, made a big fuss, and it's like, hey, you know, if it's good enough for Shia LaBeouf. And the third time he walked by, I'm in the middle of playing. Oh, hey, can I get a picture? Because I know he's like it's like a particle. You can only know where he is or how fast he's moving, but you can't.
Yeah.
Never two shall the two meet. So he goes, "Oh, absolutely." So I pull out my phone. I'm trying to get to the camera, and as soon as I got the camera open, it took 20 seconds, right? But he snatches the phone out of my hand, and he starts making video of himself watching us, and he's having a good time. So George, if you point up with your left hand,
Okay.
there will be a card right there to the video on the Jazz Destroyers page. So go ahead and check that out. It was a good time. I was just really glad that a guy like that would take a minute out of his day to help us do something that we could post around. It's kind of making some waves on Instagram. You can follow the Jazz Destroyers on Instagram and see the video there. It's been passed around a bit on Facebook, though please keep passing it around. That's how this whole thing works. And it was just a really good time. So I didn't know that I gave a bleep that Shia LaBeouf was in town. And I didn't know I gave a bleep about Fantastic Beasts. But now I do. And a big shout out to the Alamo Drafthouse. Those guys are the best. That's like home base for us now. Mm-hmm. So, all right, what's next? Unsolicited advice. So this section was originally, what the bleep have you done for the label? But I'm the only one who seems to be doing anything for the label, people. So I'm doing that hyperbolically. Brandon helped us with some graphic work. Jennifer's been helping with the website. Eugene helped us with some graphic work, and Eugene's helping us get some stickers going. We're going to have stickers coming. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
But ultimately, every week, I sit down and I go, what have you done for the label this week? And what have you done for the label this week?
I helped you redo the contract last night.
That's right. Anything else?
I've been working on the indemnity wording for people to send you submissions.
3 sentences. It just needs to be 3 sentences.
No, Dawn.
It needs to be simple.
3 sentences are not enough.
Ugh.
Unless we're talking, Bob Dylan book kind of deal.
So the whole point is, if you send me the music, you have to indemnify me from claiming that I somehow stole it from you later. I have ears. I can't help it. right? If I hear something that catches my ear, it'll knock around in my brain for a decade and then come out a different way. And it's not stealing a whole song, but I mean, that's how music works, is you hear something and you latch on to
What's
it.
that phrase? It's not plagiarism unless it doesn't improve on what you stole.
Yeah, that makes sense. Though, I don't know. Depending on who sends me what, I don't know that I could improve it. But, so that's the indemnity wording.
And once we have that finished, it will be up on the website so that when you send on something, you can just copy and paste it into the body of your email and then with your signature at the bottom.
No, I'm just going to put it between the button and the submit. It'll.
Oh, you've got it set up
Yeah,
that way? Okay.
yeah. So when you submit, it'll just
That
be...
works too.
Before you click submit, you have to understand that you are sending this to me, and I'm going to listen to it. I'm not going to steal the whole... I will never steal your whole song. I will never steal your audio and pass it around or sell it. But if there's a musical idea in there, and it comes out later, don't sue me. I'm just a guy. So...
Well, you're not taking the whole piece or anything. You're just
No.
taking one little bit that
Right, it might
clicks
be
with
3
something else
notes in
you're
a
doing.
row that catches my ear, and it wouldn't be like
I mean,
a
it's the
Robin
same
Thicke thing.
It's the same problem if you turn off on the radio and listen to something that's playing on there and go, "Oh, that's an interesting idea."
Every day, all day.
Yeah.
That's basically how musicians get to become musicians.
Yeah, art's not made in a vacuum.
No.
A lot of people go up to employees that work at video game companies and start pitching them game ideas, and they're just like, no,
Yeah.
'Cause you can't even hear
listen
it.
to that.
You can't even listen to it unless they solicit it for you. So I'm soliciting from the general public with the understanding of this is the reality, is you may hear a turn of phrase or I just don't know. Just don't go suing me. So
Your little...
my little what? Oh, leave it alone.
Sorry, I saw it and it started bothering me.
So, but instead of all that, I wanted to do unsolicited advice. So, hey, if you're doing the exact speed limit, get the heck out of the left lane. Cody, you got some unsolicited advice for the public?
Don't stop making art.
Don't stop making art.
Like for serious, don't stop making art.
Right.
Make bad art. Keep making bad art until it's good art.
Well, art is
Subjective.
Right.
so
it's
subjective.
right, but it doesn't matter if what you think you're making is bad. Keep doing it until you think what you're making is good.
Right. And the difference between good and bad art oftentimes is the details.
Right, and it's also personally subjective.
It's personally subjective, but it's also it's a summarization of the detail. It's the sum of the details coming together.
Yeah, but the process is more important than the end product.
Okay, we're gonna disagree on that one because my mantra is all that matters is output. There'll be a video right over George, where I say this.
Right, but that does create output. But the process of creating it is the art. The output is just the end product of said art.
Yeah, we've been kicking this around. There's a paradox with art that what happens is that art is not created in a vacuum, like you said. Like the question is, when you're playing alone in your room to the wall and nobody is there, is that art?
Yes.
I disagree, sir.
I have a very liberal definition of art.
Clearly.
It's anything that is basically anything that's created. So me talking right now is a form of art.
What you just described is artistic intent. So you can have artistic intent, but it is not art until it reaches the audience. And that audience, whoever it may be.
That's an unnecessary baggage to me. It doesn't seem to be necessary for something to be considered art. If you make an album and no one hears it but yourself, that's still art.
Not until somebody else hears it.
I don't think that that's a necessary component.
You've made artistic output, but it doesn't become art until the collaborative experience between the audience and the artist happens. Because that's how art is. That's why there's
That's a fallacy.
Something
That's
about
not a good
circular
argument,
logic?
But
wait.
Something about circular logic?
Hold on. So really though, is it art?
Yeah.
So you say it is, even if it's in a.
Yeah.
I'm just going to disagree.
Our conversation right now, I would consider as art because
Because we're putting it up on YouTube.
right.
But there's an audience there. doing this in a room by ourselves, we're just having an argument.
I would still call that art.
That's
I have
not
a
art.
very liberal definition. I had to remove all concepts of the qualitative to what something is as art. As long as you think it's art, it's art.
So I do draw a line that until there's an audience, you're practicing. And when I say an audience, I mean an intended audience. Until you're intentionally making it for other people to consume, you're practicing. So if you want to try to argue with me that, yeah, I'm going to make 100 hours of recorded material and never show it to anybody, and hopefully, and then I'm going, so why?
Because that's their artistic intention.
Yeah, but it's not art because it will wind up in a landfill and be lost forever because it will decay.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're making poor decisions on what to do with it, but that doesn't change the fact that it is, in fact, art.
I think you're like I said, my stance on it is you're just practicing until you're doing it in front of an audience.
I don't agree.
That's fine.
You make
No.
it really extreme. I definitely... I feel like all of the practice I do juggling, like 10 hours a week, like I feel like that contributes to what I'm capable of and what I can do in the future. And I think that's art. I think that practice is art because I'm refining my medium. You know, I'm refining what I'm capable of.
I think you're honing your craft. That's why I call it practice.
But that's the other thing is I think of art
I still
as
think that's artistic.
the art is the process, not the product. The end result.
Artistic, I will give you. But
But-
like I said, to me, art is the moment of collaboration,
I can agree with that.
Between
Like
the
art
art-
is like the creation of a work.
and
Rather than-
it's the creation of a work meeting the consumption of the work.
I don't agree with
No.
that.
You need the audience. An
No,
artist
you
without an
don't.
audience is not an artist.
Like, there's the... Sorry, go ahead.
If an artist, like, and I'm gonna go with just gonna pick a medium here. If a painter makes a painting and it's just sits in their bedroom and it doesn't get put out until after their death, are they still an artist?
Yes, and here's why: there's an intended audience there if they put it in their bedroom. Because it's not just them who sleeps in their bedroom, but it's anybody they invite into their
But
bedroom.
what if they never invite anybody into the bedroom?
Well,
Are they still an artist? I mean, they did create a work of art.
What if they take that painting and then put another painting in front of it? Some piece of crap you buy off the internet, right? Then hide that painting until after they
Yeah, but-
passed away.
but
but
they're
then you're
still an
intent-
artist. They still created that work of art. Whether or not you can see it is irrelevant.
it's not a work of art until
No, it is a work
other
of
people
art.
see it.
It-
It's artistic output.
What
until
about
other
what about
people.
the sand paintings where they will do an entire artistic work with sand, and as soon as it's done, they blow it away?
And why do we know about them?
Because
Because-
generally you will have people watching them do it, but people do that without anyone watching.
And when
And
they're
it-
doing it without anybody watching, they're practicing.
No, that's
No.
the art.
Disagree, guys. And this is a healthy disagreement. What I want to know is what you think in the comments. Do you agree with Cody? Do you agree with Chris? Do you agree with George? Is art truly the moment of collaboration between two people? That collaboration between the artist and their audience, as I say? Or is it pure, or can art purely be done? But
Art's a
any
verb.
painting...
Is there
when-
really a
think you
reason
can-
to trust the disco duck, the like irrational id expressing his inner desires out to the audience, or do you want to trust these three rational people that have more reasonable opinions?
So there's a couple logical fallacies there. I should
Hashtag-
remind you, sir.
Hashtag mob rule.
You had the hashtag mob rule. Also, you had the appeal to the mass,
Yep.
and I think there was an appeal to intellect, right?
Yes.
Every smart person would agree that art is only at the point of collaboration between the viewer.
Otherwise, you'd be dumb and you'd be agreeing with disco duck. That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. So, and this is what's driving these guys nuts, is that it's like, oh man, he just turned that around. No, really though, I want you to think about this before you leave the comment, right? I want the last word. It's my show.
the fact that that you want the last word just because it's your show. No, that's your personality, dear.
That is my personality. Don't you dare get into an argument with me on the internet.
Hashtag gracious.
So gracious. No, is that art? The whole reason we have critical reception of art.
But you just immediately
Why-
defined it as critical reception.
Why do you need critical reception of it?
Because that is,
Art can just exist.
it can't just exist.
It can. It totally can.
If you build
If,
this,
if you paint a painting in the woods and nobody's around to see it, is it still a painting?
Yes.
It's still art.
because the birds are going to look at it.
What's the MGM motto? Art gratis? Art something?
You're
art,
making bird art.
art for art's sake?
I don't know.
It's the one that's on above their logo. I can't remember.
Either way, it's super important to practice. I hope everybody understands that.
Right.
It's just because I say that if you're doing this without an audience, you're practicing, doesn't mean it's not important. In fact, you should do a lot more practicing than you do making art. Your art is when you've refined it through the practice.
See, there's the qualitative part where you say that it's practice and not art.
I've already defined my lines, sir.
Right, I know.
So if you book a gig and nobody shows up, is it still art?
Yeah. Because the bartender's there, and you're playing to the bartender.
What if the gig is in the forest and you're playing a forest rave?
No.
It's
What
busted
if
by
you're
the
getting
cops.
paid in the
Before
forest?
the-
You're not
Somebody's
getting paid.
paying you.
Yeah, you're not getting paid to play.
What
in the
if someone
forest.
does?
If somebody's paying you to play in the
Yeah,
forest,
they want
Yeah,
you to go
you've-
serenade
You've got the
squirrels.
illegal forest rave,
There
and it
you
gets
go.
busted by the cops,
already
so everyone
defined your
who's heading
audience.
out there has been routed back out, and you're still out there, and you're playing to zero audience. Is that art?
no, you're practicing.
How is that practicing?
Because eventually you'll be like, nobody's here. Let's have a beer and rehearse. It turns into a rehearsal on stage. And by the way, I'm putting too much emphasis on the audience, right? To me, art is when artistic intent meets the audience. And the artistic intent is what you guys are all describing as art. And I understand that. I respect that view. But it's not. It's artistic intent. It's output with artistic intent. But art is when you connect with your audience on an emotional level or an intellectual level, on a deeper level than just be. It's not art if it's just on a wall because it needs to take up space. It's art when you look at it and you feel something. And the only
I think there's a difference between practice and art, though, and that practicing is like learning the medium, learning discrete things about
Sure.
the medium so that you can combine those together and do what you're trying to do. But you can still make art in the sense that you can produce a work.
Mhm.
And I don't think an audience is necessary to experience that work in order for that to still be art.
I understand that you
What?
disagree.
Why do you need an audience to feel something? Like if I make a painting and the painting makes me feel, isn't that art?
The painting.
Why do I need a second?
Because you're the
Person.
initial audience in that.
If you
situation.
define,
Sure,
listen,
but why
listen,
do you
if
need like
if
another
you're-
person? Why do you need a
Yeah, no, listen. If your intended audience is yourself, have fun. Just don't ask me to care,
Well, that's fair.
right? Have fun. But but the problem is that it's so easy to do that and become so self-absorbed. And it turns into, and she's laughing, she's going self-absorbed. You disappear up your own hind end when you say, I'm the only audience I want to please. But the paradox that we all have to live with is your art has to please the audience, but you can't try to please your audience because then you're pandering, and thus you lose your artistic intent. This is why it's an interesting debate. But I still say, and that's why, but the audience is always still part of that. And that's why it's art. If you make art for yourself, yeah, okay, call it art. Don't show it to me.
That's fair. I never said
You
that
know.
anyone needed to.
Don't show it to the world.
It might be terrible.
And don't get mad at me when I tell you you're practicing.
Art for me does not mean something is good. There's
That's
plenty of
true.
really
it
awful
doesn't
art.
mean it's good. It just
That's true.
good is subjective.
True.
What I think is good, you hate, and what you think is good, I hate.
How the hell do we stay married?
Disco lights.
Disco lights.
Yeah, it's probably the safer answer than what I was going to say.
All right.
Don't want to say it on the podcast?
No.
There might be children watching.
Yeah, there's probably children watching. Though I've looked at the demographics. We haven't had any under 18, but we have a small number of people in Georgia's age demographic.
Are there none under 18, or are there none claiming that they're under 18?
That's probably the latter. But we don't age restrict these videos, even though a little cuss word comes out every now and then.
But we try to avoid them.
We try to avoid them, and be sure to hit subscribe if you've watched this far. All right.
Do we not get to give our unsolicited advice? You got to Cody, and that was about it.
George, you got unsolicited advice for the audience?
When you run into someone, like a fast food place, if they're serving you food, if they're walking around cleaning the floors or doing anything like that, I appreciate those people a lot.
Yeah.
And I think you should too, because they're making the place that you are in, the establishment that you are visiting or living in or whatever, like they're making it happen.
That's true, though the government sets the regulations on how clean the place must be, and then they're required to hire somebody to come take care of it. What irks me is that those people that work, they get paid so low that they're on public assistance. And so then my frickin' tax dollars are subsidizing these companies' payroll budgets. Pay your people appropriately. Do you have unsolicited advice?
Yes, I do have unsolicited advice. To all the straight men out there. If you are interested in a woman,
Don't grab her.
Like a first or ever?
Only when she asks.
yeah, do not get consent first. Because really, you never know when you're going to run across a woman who's either got a weapon on her or knows martial arts and can kick your butt into next week.
Chris has gotten really into Krav Maga. Krav Maga? The Israeli martial art.
Yes.
She's getting ready to tear somebody's nuts off. That's what that whole thing. It's aim for the crotch and twist.
Again, wait for me to leave until you start.
So that's our unsolicited advice
Yes.
and a long debate about art. And I wonder how much hate I'm going to get for that one. Hopefully I've inflamed somebody enough to just make me a hate page on the internet. Just help me with the
I
SEO.
mean, it's one of my favorite topics, so.
It is a great topic. We'll have to revisit that one. All right, what's next? Announcements, goals, and giveaway. I want to do my announcements. I want to do my goals first. Actually, I've been slacking on the goals. Right now, we haven't quite crossed 80 subscribers. I would really, really love it if everybody watching could help us get to that 100. So if you've already subscribed, help a friend subscribe. And if only 1 in 4 subscribers do that, we'll be over our 100. The 100 is a big threshold on YouTube. It'll help us get a specific URL, so we can just kind of like tell you the URL rather than just have a random string of numbers. But at the same time, the easiest way to help somebody, they can go to getoffmylawnrecords.com. There's a video right on the homepage. They open the video, and there should be a subscribe right there. But we're trying really hard. The other goal that I have going on is I'm going to change the format of the show a little bit. It's changing.
So we're the last of the dying breed?
Yeah, you might be. Well, at least when I can't. I will continue this format as long as I need to, right? But our broad topic and our previous one, we're going to start. I'm bringing in some really exciting people. On Wednesday, I'm going to have a conversation with Steve Albini, which is going to be really cool. We're going to put that up probably on next week's episode. Mm-hmm. Steve Albini, for anybody who doesn't know, is basically the face of the analog side of the analog-digital debate these days. He's really taken that on as his own personal cause. He produced In Utero with Nirvana and a whole bunch of stuff I'm not even familiar with. But he's one of those guys who still cares about those things that I care about, which is fidelity, analog for archival purposes, a lot of really interesting stuff. So I'm really looking forward to him. And Also, I'm going to talk to Mixer Man. Eric Seraphin. Seraphin? I've always known him as Mixer Man. I read this book started as a daily blog. And this was when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's been a while. And this book is fantastic. It's called The Daily Adventures of Mixer Man. It's the story of an engineer who has to work with a major label band in the early aughts, right at the very heyday, right before the whole thing, the whole major label industry collapsed. And just, it's all fictionalized characters, but they all feel very, very, very real. In fact, for years, we're going to talk to him about, how fictional is this book versus how real. Because when we were all reading it, we thought he was literally working on a project and gave everybody nicknames. So, this one's a lot of fun. He wrote 3 books after that I don't have, that I should get and read. But time is limited, resources are limited. Are Zen in the Art of Producing, Zen in the Art of Mixing, and Zen in the Art of Recording. And I think part of the reason I didn't snag those early on was because by the time he wrote those, I had already been doing it for a while. And I'm always leery of those books anymore because I'm just like, I know how to record. But I should read him. He probably has some insight. He's a really funny writer. He's got a lot of personality.
Well, even if it's just like an introduction, if he gives like a different perspective, you could get a lot from that.
Absolutely.
So it's worth looking into.
Yeah. And he just wrote this one called Mixer Man and the Billionaire Apparent. And Billion Hair. H-E-I-R. And it's everything that's wrong with the industry today. It's basically the story of this same guy, Mixer Man, gets a call from an Indian billionaire, and his son wants to become a music mogul. And so they agree to pay Mixer Man to teach his son how to be a record producer. And mayhem ensues.
Well, I mean, there's a lot you can learn, but that's if you're not.
Read the book.
Yeah.
That's the long and short of it. He really covered it exactly, and there's a lot of he talks a lot about how the internet's become gamed. There's a lot of gaming of all of this stuff online.
For sure.
And it's really super interesting, and it just breaks my heart that we're all working out at our house. Like, he's way better than I am, but somehow now we've not like on an output level, but we've all kind of hit the floor together, and now everybody's just kind of scrambling around. So what I did was I said, well, how about we just combine our small audiences, where a lot of people in previous eras, they would go after the big fish. I want to work with the major labels. I get why. They pay a lot better. I've got my friend who does mastering for majors, and they pay exorbitant rates. And it's great because that allows her to work with the independent artists on the cheap. But it's like a star collapsing in on itself. It's really interesting to watch. And here I am on the outskirts. I'm like that little mammal that evolved after the dinosaurs died off. I'm trying.
Well, a lot of people are sick of getting shoveled big label stuff.
Yeah.
So they're going out and looking for small independent artists doing their thing, and then they're using Bandcamp and for YouTubers like Patreon and that kind of thing to make a living off of their small audience.
Right. And
they're finding a niche.
I mean, major labels have the benefit of being a curation service, essentially, but
they've done a really bad job.
In the last 30
curating.
years, their ability to curate has been more and more narrow.
Yep.
And they are not taking any sort of chances with any sort of interesting music. They look for what has already sold, or look for independents who have sold well, and then try to copy that or sign acts that are similar. Mm-hmm. And they're not looking to innovate at all.
No,
Whereas
they aren't.
In the 70s, 60s, part of the 80s, there was some innovation that they were risking, and they had some failures, but they also had a lot of great and interesting things. But
these are transnational corporations.
yeah, they're
In the 70s and 80s, they were corporations, but they were small. and there were a lot of
I
them.
mean, it's not a problem of how large they are. It's a matter of them looking at how much they're going to spend and look on return on investment and going, that's not worth the risk anymore.
Yeah.
Because no one buys albums, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but like the amount of record sales has gone significantly down with the advent of iTunes, where people can buy single songs, and
Right.
the advent of like Bandcamp, where you can buy a very independent thing for very cheap or free. And major label sales have very drastically plummeted in the last 20 years. Well, since Napster.
Yeah,
That's true,
Napster.
too.
Napster was really just the catalyst, though, right? Like they
Yeah.
became the fall guy.
Yeah.
But what's really killed it wasn't Napster; it was torrents.
Yeah, I know.
The torrenting is really what's killed it, because in a heartbeat now, I can get every single note a single artist had ever recorded.
Yeah.
So, with Napster, everybody was stealing individual songs.
Yeah.
And that led to the advent of really good albums. Right? Because the argument back then was, well, there's only 2 songs I want on the whole thing. Why should I pay $20 for this CD? So I'll just go steal the 2 songs I want. Which is still wrong, but when the major label is ripping you off so badly.
Yeah, when they're charging you $19 for a CD that you literally only want one song off of,
Right.
because the rest is just filler.
Right. Where if we charge that kind of money for a CD, the packaging will be handmade by people making a living wage. It won't be a cheesy little thing. But so after that happened, they started crying foul. I don't blame them, right? We did see a dip in sales. But what really killed it is when the connection speeds got fast enough where we could not only transfer full albums to each other, but entire catalogs.
Yeah.
And the major label music industry has always been built on the back catalog. I don't know if everybody knows that. The way you used to start a record label back in the day is you'd go buy the rights to a song, like Louie Louie. Right? Louie Louie launched a couple labels, if I remember correctly. You buy the rights to Louie Louie. Every time a movie or television show used Louie Louie, the label would get the money. Every time that copies were sold in compilations, the label would get the money. And they would use that continuing overall sales of this very proven commodity of an ongoing hit to then take that money and fund new artists. And what happened was, somewhere back in the day, they stopped taking the money to fund new artists and they started taking the money to pay their shareholders. And now there's almost no advances. And if there is an advance, it's very, very small. It's not enough to live on while you're making the record. So now we've seen this consolidation of not only the major labels, but if you see what the major labels are putting out, we've gone back to producer and singer.
Which isn't such a bad thing.
Unless you like rock and roll.
No, I mean, there's plenty of synth pop that's coming out that's producer and singer,
Yeah.
and it's great.
It's great unless you prefer the sound of, like, I don't know, a big band,
Oh, fair enough.
a horn section, a real drummer, I love Marion Hill. Marion Hill's great. I love there's some really cool stuff coming out, but it has actually affected the way we make music. Large ensembles are gone. Polyphonic Spree is like the last of that big, large ensemble. Fleetwood Mac is another good example of it. And as there becomes less and less money to make and less money to split, all of a sudden, now we're going to make music as duos and solos rather than these bands. I still want to make music with bands. I like that sound. I like making records that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what's going on now. We have our announcements. We've got Josh Peters we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm.
We got those albums coming. He's going to do one of his and then a duo record. The duo record will probably come out first. The Sounds in Between. The Volca album, it's been I've been really busy with the YouTube channel. I haven't made any progress on We Are Living in the Age of Neo-Feudalism, but I'm really, really looking forward to it. Cody, you want to grab one of the Volcas? I have all 6 of these, and they each do something different. And when I show people them, they don't understand. So I'm gonna re-record tape 2 of 4. It's gonna take 4 tapes to make a 60-minute album. I'm gonna re-record tape 2 of 4. I'm gonna videotape myself doing it. I live streamed the first one on tape 1, but it was just really hard. And actually, that was the take that fell apart because it was only 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And there were a couple mistakes.
It was still fun to watch.
Very fun to watch, but I'm gonna actually do it on the cameras. I'm gonna set the cameras up, and I will.
Yeah, that was on your phone, wasn't it?
That was my phone, just
Yeah.
like plopped up somewhere. Or no, I think I had
with
set up a
Facebook,
tripod.
with like Facebook Go Live.
It was Facebook Live is how I did that first
Yeah.
one. But the second one, I'm gonna actually do a music video of the 15 minutes of the tape, and we'll put that up. So that'll be very, very cool. Best of Freeform Fridays 2016. I am happy to announce the tracks have been counted.
Awesome.
I'm still deciding on one more. I've got 13, but it may be 14. So I'm still editing the rest of Freeform Fridays 2016. I'm not telling anybody what the final track listing is, because then once the last one of the year comes out, then there's no reason to watch the rest, right? So
That's going to be that lost jam.
it should be.
Should be.
Should be. MC Overlord album. We got our contracts done, so let's get that over to him this week.
You've got his email address. So
Yeah, I'll get that over to him. Jesse Thunderwake soundtrack. I just have no news. I gotta dredge out a hard drive. I gotta find an afternoon. But we got the Thanksgiving week. This is the week of Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Have some turkey.
Have some
Ham.
turkey. So
Even
I'll,
if,
And
even
throw
if
the
you have
yams in the
some-
trash.
yeah,
Throw away the yams.
Oh, they're foul.
yams
Then,
are delicious.
you've
Tasty.
had them wrong.
No, I just don't like them.
Lots of butter.
They're like blueberries. They're like dirt berries. They're just gross.
Oh, you haven't had them right then.
No.
Leave a comment.
You poor
Leave a
thing.
comment, people. Don't.
Yams, disgusting. Sweet potatoes, disgusting. They're just wrong. Morally repugnant.
Oh, you've had
Sweet
bad
potato
sweet
mashed
potatoes.
potatoes.
Oh, I can't. Oh.
They are incredible.
I can imagine. I don't like sweet potato fries, but I can imagine sweet potato mashed potatoes would be pretty good.
That's how I do them.
Yeah. I complain every year. I do prefer regular potatoes, but
You complain about everything, and I give you regular potatoes.
I know. It's a secret to nobody. So George, I was showing George. You're free to use that in your juggling videos.
The album that you're talking
Yeah,
about?
it's
Yes.
called "It's a Secret to Nobody." I made it on my iPad, and it's on Bandcamp for pay what you want.
What apps did you use for that? Or like one or
Core
two of them?
Gadget.
What was it?
Core Gadget.
All right.
Core Gadget is phenomenal. It takes a little to get into because it requires a lot of doing and automation, which is
A lot
not
of
exactly
automation.
my forte, but it's very powerful.
Yep.
I'm a set it and forget it kind of person.
Yeah.
Lots of interesting synthesis that does stuff without me having to set automation.
Right. Where I almost take the other way, where I'm like, all right, I got 10 notes in. Those 10 notes sound good. Now let's, I like to replicate the sound of like somebody twisting knobs.
Yeah.
That's
But I mean,
that's
like,
what I go for.
on my Electron stuff, I do use the
Yeah.
parameter locking a lot.
Oh, hi, Regal Cat.
She is so regal.
She is so regal. She was having a bad day yesterday.
Yes.
She had to go to the doctor.
Is that why she was face planted?
Yeah. The Jazz Destroyers Live. We have the download cards. They're $5 if you see me. And you can download it for $10 online. Why is it more expensive online? Because I said so. Come find me. Come to a show. And you get a discount. That's the way I look at it. Tapes and CDs are coming. Still coming. And Your Name Here. I still have a few slots.
I'm working on my project.
We're working on your project. And we're just working on it, right?
Yeah.
So if you know of any interesting bands you want me to check out, send it to me, and we'll have a listen and we'll figure it out. So what's next? Our giveaway. We have to do the weekly giveaway. So leave a joke in the comments. Any joke. Best joke, I will send you a download code for the Jazz Destroyers Live. And if you really want, I'll actually stick one of these in an envelope for you and mail it to you. All right, what's next? Shoutouts. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys about the shout-outs. So I will start. It's 3 shout-outs. It can be anybody, place, thing, whatever. Just 3 things you want to shout out. I like to spend a little time not just talking about myself. So I'll start. My first shout-out is to Y Oak. The band. The duo. Again, a duo. Right? Keyboard player who's also playing drums, plus girl singer guitar. They're great on the, the AV Club. They've got that covers thing they do every year. And they did Danzig's Mother.
Excellent.
And it's kind of what led me down to that path of like, oh, I should do that one.
That sounds familiar. The Wyoak, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
WYEOAK.
Yeah.
I'll leave something somewhere for that. I'm gonna give a shout out to Eugene. Eugene knows who he is. He's the best. He's got an interesting app for structural engineers. That's really cool, but Eugene's the best, and thank you for everything. And then I want to give a shout out to the Get Off My Lawn Records family. I'm going to make the Facebook group an open group. That's right. I'm going to make it an open group. Just go join the group. I'm going to post early access to things, unlisted videos, updates, when I solicit for like questions, like we had our Ask a Canadian question. And we got a couple of days left if anybody has a question they want me to ask on their behalf to Mixerman or Steve Albini. Also, Bob Olson's going to be. He was the staff producer or staff engineer at Motown, if I remember correctly. He's a mastering engineer now. Super interesting guy. But yeah, the Get Off My Lawn Records family in that Facebook group. So everybody who's part of that, you guys are the best. Thank you for all the support. Cody, what are your 3 shout-outs?
My buddy Chris, who records under the name Inflatable Robot, just finished his album. He just got it mastered by, I don't remember
By somebody other than me. Why did he do that?
He got it mastered by the guy who does the mastering for the label that Survive runs.
Okay.
The guys who did the Stranger Things soundtrack.
I probably would have done it cheaper, but okay.
But he's probably releasing the album in January or February, I believe. So
Okay.
Shout out to Inflatable Robot. My friend Sammy's about to have her first kid, so shout out to her.
Congratulations, Sammy. Though we have established on the show that we don't give a bleep about people having children.
Yeah.
Just ask Ashton Kutcher. Was that last week? But Sammy, way to go.
More people. George, for just getting a sweet job.
A really sweet job. George is gonna George is gonna set the world on fire. George, how old are you?
I am 23.
Oh my God.
All these people keep telling me I'm a baby.
You really are. I'm a decade older than you.
I was 23 when I met you.
Yep. That's how that goes.
Look what you have to
Decade
look
later.
forward to.
You're about to lose some hair, put on some weight.
Need to get you a disco ball jacket.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna
yeah.
go, oh, you know what I really need? I need a flashy garment that was made in America by people paid a living wage. That's right.
Do you produce those?
No, this was
Oh, okay.
this came from a company in San Francisco called Beta Brand.
I mean,
Okay.
this was printed in America.
What was the T-shirt? Okay, that's pretty cool, and that's a 3-color screen print job. It looks
Yeah.
like. Whoever did that did a pretty good job at it too.
Yeah. I think it was Rotten Cotton. I don't remember.
Yeah. So, what are your shout-outs, George?
A guy named I Am Sleepless does independent music on YouTube. I think he's on Bandcamp too. Very emotional, like trance and acoustic stuff.
Do you know where he's from?
He's in the U.S. I'm not sure what state
If he ever gets down to Austin, we should invite him on to Freeform Fridays.
for sure. I think he's like Midwest, but Austin's a good place.
Everyone comes to Austin.
They do.
Yeah. Who else?
Guy named Doodle.
Doodle.
Yeah, he does fire fans and juggling and all kinds of things like
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah. hung out with him several times at a flow festival called Kinetic Fire, and at some spin jams in Indy, Acro Indy, ran by my friend named Jessica Mardini. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not your crowd.
I have
But-
no. It's not that it's not my crowd, right?
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
don't know about any of this. So it happens with me with music, right? I really work hard to try to keep the lingo.
Oh, okay.
You
Sure.
know what I mean? Like, because when we have these, we used to have regional communities. You know, you thought of yourself as a Texan or a New Yorker, right? But with the internet, it's all fractured. Now it's these online communities, and the way you identify yourself as part of the community is you start using the lingo,
Sure.
right? I'm really so for all of my Gear Sluts guys, I'm really an OTB kind of guy, you know. So keep going. But
Sorry-
yeah,
sorry for all the
and
lingo.
and a big shout out to that whole community.
Yeah, for sure. But Doodle's incredible. Hard worker, always dedicated doing his stuff. And he's been traveling around for like a year and a half, 2 years now, going around Europe and Amsterdam and Canada and all over the place.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think you got one more.
I do. What was it? That's my question.
Your very special lady friend. You should shout out your very special lady
I
friend.
should say, oh, special lady friend?
Don't you have a special lady
I
friend?
do. Her name is Emmy.
Emmy.
Yeah.
What's up, Emmy?
She's great. We started going out like 2 months ago. It's been going real well.
Am I allowed, if it ever falls through, am I allowed to post the update on the channel?
Yes, but we're gonna
Like,
hedge
we'll
our
have you
bets and
in for the
pretend like that's not gonna
post-mortem
happen.
kind of thing.
Where'd it go
What went
wrong?
George? Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's awesome. Emmy, you were telling me she seems like a nice girl.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have her on the podcast by Skype one of these days.
Maybe.
Darling, who are your 3 shout outs?
Well, first shout out is going to be to Research Pet and Bird Hospital for taking such good care of Regal Cat yesterday.
And I want you to send this to them and show them just how docile and loving. You guys, this cat is nothing but lovies, right? Well, when you take her to the vet, she becomes the spawn of Satan.
Well, that makes sense.
And
But
like,
Pumpkin-
they even gave me medication to give her to like calm her down. Yeah, no, it didn't work.
But Studio Cat, when we take him, he's just a perfect little gentleman. He's just like, oh, I'm here now. This one, she's like near feral when you bring her in there. She's biting and hissing, and they have to like wrap her in a blanket just to get the swab down her throat to test her stuff.
Yeah.
She's a high maintenance little princess.
Yes, she is.
But we love her. Who
So
else?
cute.
Second shout out is to whoever is creating the Biden memes.
Yes.
I love you. I really, really love you.
I'm secretly hoping it's actually Joe Biden.
I'm pretty sure it actually is Joe Biden.
Free
Or one of the
advertising.
Obamas or something, you know? Yeah.
We find out it's Malia. Yeah.
So that's my second one. And then my third one is congratulations to Katie and Joe. They just announced that they have finally gotten pregnant. So congratulations to them.
Again, we don't.
You don't care.
Yeah, we
Don't
care.
say we.
We care. We care. All right. So that's our shout outs. What's next? Getting a project off the ground. This is our broad topic.
Oh, it wasn't art?
No,
Oh,
that was our clickbait. That's our. I'm basically doing two broad topics these days. Getting a project off the ground. I wanted to talk about that part of it because yesterday I was talking to John, who appeared on episode 3 or episode 2. The one with crazy heroin stories.
that was 3, I believe.
Okay. And he told me that his band, Comanche Bastard, broke up.
Aw.
That sucks.
Bummer.
Well, does it? Does it suck?
Oh, like a terrible marriage. Like, thank
Yeah.
God it's over.
You know,
I
it
don't know.
slows everything down
It
from
does.
a production standpoint.
Yeah.
Because John really wants to make a record. John's ready to make a record.
Yeah.
John's got something to say. But now John's got to start over, getting a project off the ground.
But if you got people who aren't really committed, I guess it's easier to kill it and start again.
That's
Yeah.
very true. Like, if I wanted to start over with the Jazz Destroyers, it would be a great big problem.
Right.
I love my guys. My guys are the best. I think the world of them, and they put up with me when I lay eggs at the gig. Sorry about that. So, I really screwed something up. I really caused a train wreck on one of them. So I need to practice more. But getting a project off the ground, I see it so often as this I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna start a band. I'm going to write the songs for the band, and we're going to be awesome, and we're going to take over the world. And I go, right on. And then it's, well, I can't find a bass player for my band. It's like, well, then keep looking. Right? Like, getting that initial push, getting it off the ground, is the hardest thing in the world. It's the tyranny of the blank page. It's that very beginning that is always the hardest. We started this channel with 0 subscribers, right? We're up to 79 right now. Please subscribe. And when we started the channel, I had already had the Jazz Destroyers, which is doing well. It could have been very easy for me to make the Get Off My Lawn Records podcast just a weekly upload on the Jazz Destroyers channel. But I didn't want to do that to my audience because they came for the music. And I want them to come here for the talking. So we built, so getting the project together, what I always say is in the first stages of a project, you have no money. Unless you have money. If you have money, then getting a project off the ground is a breeze.
I wouldn't say it's a breeze, but it's a lot easier.
You can hire your way into it. Trust me.
Money solves problems.
Money solves problems. Oh, you need a good drummer? Yeah. If you throw $100 in the air, you'll get a good drummer come out. You'll get good drummers coming out of the
I mean, the
woodwork.
KLF wrote a whole manual on that.
Right. So when you have no money, though, you don't get to be selective. You only get to work with the people who are willing to work with you. And with that comes a whole lot of baggage and a whole lot of problems and a whole lot of headaches. Then once you get the project off the ground and it actually starts doing something, then people come out of the woodwork wanting to play with you. People really want to glom on to success, but they don't want to invest into an unproven commodity. And so in those early stages, that's when you really find out who's going to be loyal. The problem, though, is that with the issues that come along, sometimes it can become a hindrance of progress, right? So you got a drummer who won't play quietly for the gigs that need to play quietly. That's a problem. So then you have to part ways, and then you feel like the jerk because then you got to bring in somebody who really is just excited to be there to make the money. But you hope that you've built the project and you do good work and you find somebody who's also excited about the music. But yeah, if there's a little bit of money, it's a lot easier to get things started. But you don't ever start with a little bit of money, so you just got to literally pool whatever resources you can come together with. If all you got are, two ukulele players and a harmonica, guess what kind of music you're making? You're making ukulele music with harmonica, there's no reason to over-envision things. Just get the group going and then work with what you have.
Well, you can't wait for it to be perfect because you just have to start. If you wait for it to be perfect, you'll never start at all. So you have to start with what you have and then just improve things as you go.
Right. That's the point I guess I'm trying to get. Thank you for putting it that way. And with Cody, you're working on that duo album, and yeah, it's brutal getting it started.
And I'm changing styles a bit and
All sorts of things.
yeah, lots of
All sorts of
small setbacks here and there, but nothing that's so great that I have to say I'm not doing this anymore.
Right. Well, and I just have to. Because I see so many bands start and break up.
Yeah.
Like Full Fathom had broken up by the time we had released all of the videos with them in it for Freeform Fridays. And
But didn't they break up because somebody moved?
yeah, Ryan moved back to Arizona.
Mm.
But but the point is, at this point I'm basically skeptical of startups, of startup
bands
projects.
specifically?
Yeah,
Or, okay.
because it's just so hard. But Cody's kind of an exception because Cody and Q know each other forever.
Yeah.
And they're good friends, and I'm not worried about that, right?
Yeah.
What I'm worried about is a band I don't know at all anything about. They've been playing for 3 months. Even if they're great, it's like, well, show me a little bit of longevity. Show me you guys can do this for 6 months. Because ultimately, like, the whole point of this is to gig. The record sales, I would love for the record sales to replace everybody's income, but realistically, it's the whole point of making a record with Get Off My Lawn Records is supplemental, not primary. That's why I try to keep the projects limited in scope so that I'm not asking for people to take 6 weeks of their life off.
Well, and a good way to do advertising when you're just starting out is to get out there and be in front of people, which gigs is a good way to do that.
And I will tell you this, of those 79, thank you, Donald Trump.
Sorry.
You didn't take you should have
I
taken
did.
a thing. Oh. So the almost every subscriber right now of our 79, I've personally asked to subscribe. So if you're watching this, the chances are very high that I said, hey, you've got your phone out. I do it because I just have to constantly do it. Playing gigs is actually kind of a tough way to get subscribers, but it's a great way to sell records. So part of the Get Off My Lawn Records contract says not only do you take your records to the shows, but you take 2 copies of everybody else on the label. So then you've got you basically have, a very mini store. So it's, hey, you like our music, you'll also like this stuff. If you like our music plus jazz, try this. If you like our music plus electronic, try this. If you like our music plus punk rock, trust this. That's the idea. And that's the kind of the model we're building this on, is a very collaborative communal experience because, well, I just start calling people comrade out of nowhere. So getting a project out, it's super hard to do.
Well, I mean, I think a large part of the problem is, and not even just for music, but is scope, is defining the scope of your project and, to use programming terms, feature creep.
Yep.
The longer you go, the more you're like, I can add this, I can add this, I can add this other thing. And you can't do that indefinitely.
Right. Eventually you have to release it.
Yeah. I've got a buddy who has re-recorded an album, I think 4 complete times because he was unsatisfied with what he had.
This isn't an uncommon story.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I mean, the final product that I've heard, it was great, and I've heard most of the interim process, and it was still great, but he was unsatisfied with it. But that's
perfectionism is the killer.
yeah. I mean,
That's why that's why when we do our records, it's very much like, all right,
yeah.
we're gonna cut this in a weekend.
I mean, I think
You
of
got a time limit.
when I'm doing
Sorry, go ahead.
when I'm doing music, I think of it as like doing a sketch. Like I work on the music until it's at a point where I'm satisfied with it, and then it's done. And satisfied with it isn't it's perfected. It's in a state where I think it's a complete song, but it might need a lot more polish. But I don't care anymore because I want to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, there's a balance. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a balancing act. There's always going to be some additional tweaks. But the nice thing with like working with the label is then you're not relying on yourself to master it,
Yeah,
or even potentially mix it. Like I'll mix this stuff for everybody if they need it, if they
Yeah.
need me to. With you, I'm just giving you creative freedom.
yeah,
But usually it's, come in, play. I know everybody's got gigs. We're all busy. So you come in,
Yeah.
play. I'll handle the technical side of it.
but like I'm also working on a solo project that's a concept album that I've never done one of those before. The duo is also a concept album, and it's really difficult getting started because the scope is so large, and it's daunting, and I don't want to get started and then have to record things that or rewrite or anything like that. And I don't know.
Yeah, I've never done a concept album. That's a level of opulence that I don't get to enjoy. A concept album is like one of those things you do when you can lock yourself into a studio for 3 months and not work. And not go to your day job, right? Like, I guess I'm a little more pragmatic. It's why there's some really great prog rock albums out there, but those guys really spent an inordinate amount of resources to make those.
Yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon was not recorded over a weekend. It was recorded over like 6 months. They had toured the material prior to that. They were testing it in front of audiences.
Yeah.
It evolves. But I will say this about concept albums. It's like you'll get some cute turns of phrases. You'll kind of half write about half of the album, and then the rest of it will kind of fall into place.
Yeah.
We should talk to Alan Parsons. He knows all about concept albums.
But I think of it more of just a general art project problem.
Yeah.
Like if you're making a video game, if you are doing a art show, if you are writing a book.
Right.
It's all the same sort of problem. It's defining scope, defining what your, what is the term, minimum viable product?
I call it sufficient. I use the word sufficient a lot, right? Like,
Yeah.
just get things to sufficient.
Hashtag that'll work.
Hashtag that'll work. The reason I brought this up though was the original. My real advice on getting a project off the ground is simply break it up into its individual pieces. We live in a world where now 2 people are making albums, where it used to take whole teams of people to make an album. You used to have 3-4 engineers on an album, and now it's usually the producer who's also writing the music, who's also doing this and that and the other thing. But if you remember each and every individual role from the historical perspective of it, of how records were made in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, then you can say, okay, right now I'm mixing. All right now I'm mastering. Right now I'm writing. Right now I'm performing. Right now I'm editing. All of these little individual parts, you know.
I have a really bad habit of mixing synthesis and writing at the same point. But
yeah, and thank you for admitting it's a bad habit.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I saw Thomas Dolby in college, he came to the school and did a talk. And the thing I remember sticking out most was he said, I'm more of a orchestrator than a songwriter. And I went, yep.
I love Thomas Dolby.
I love him too, but
The Flat Earth is one of my favorite albums.
But it's not... There's a reason it's not as big as it could be. You know what I mean? There's a reason She Blinded Me with Science went so big, because it was obnoxiously catchy.
Yeah.
And it was a song.
Hyperactive.
I guess. But, you know, he, like you said, he doesn't really write songs that he can just sit down to a piano and play.
Yeah. I watched him playing, a video of him playing live, Hyperactive.
Is he still using all those, like, big machines that he modified into MIDI devices?
He's using, like, Logic or something.
Yeah, he was using Logic, but he would, like, buy old radio equipment and replace the guts and turn them into MIDI
Oh,
controllers.
that's amazing.
Yeah. He,
I missed a shout-out. Kate Bush's new album's coming out, the live album.
Nice.
Speaking of Thomas Dolby, sorry.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
I'm excited.
But George is probably the most recent in this, because George has gotten a project off the ground here recently. So you do your juggling thing.
I do my juggling thing.
You do a daily upload?
As many as I can, yeah.
Daily. Gotta
Every
do
day.
daily.
Every day. Getting out. Just trying to post new ideas I've been working on, things I'm practicing, exploring juggling, and all of the different patterns that you can do with that.
How many can you juggle now?
I can do 6.
6.
Yeah.
So now we got to figure out how to incorporate your foot.
There are people that do that. That is above
Foot
my
stalls.
Yes.
You can work on foot stalls.
Land it on your foot. And
Land it on
like
your foot
pick
and
it back
pop
up.
it back up.
The hacky sack sort of thing?
Yep.
Please don't kick my mic.
People do it.
I do what I
off,
want.
You gonna stand up and knock all the mics
I
over?
already threatened to. I should.
You could.
Please don't. Yeah.
Godzilla just
So
walk
so
through the
how long
city.
have you been doing this now?
The daily videos.
Yeah.
I've done 10 days.
10 days.
10 days of it. Yeah.
So you're still flying high.
So far, yeah.
How many? What's your metrics look like? Are they growing? Are they flat?
They were really high at the beginning, like you would expect,
Okay.
and then they fell off. But it's going back up again.
It's going back up as people
steadily
find it.
and slowly. Yeah.
Yeah, let's help you. So you have permission to use anything you want on It's a Secret to Nobody.
Okay.
Just go snag it off of
Put
Bandcamp.
music in the background.
Yeah,
All right.
that'll help. And don't mute yourself. Just blend it in.
Yeah, so you can still hear it. Yep.
Yeah. And that might help. And then also we'll share it. We'll pass it around as well.
Okay.
So please share our stuff. We'll share your stuff. That's kind of how this whole thing works. Is let's all just help each other.
I shared your
audiences.
video with Trilo Buff earlier.
I appreciate that. I really
Yeah.
do. Actual Cannibal, Shia LaBeouf. Wow. It's a great video though.
As long as he only eats himself. I'm cool with it.
Surprisingly good rapper.
Yeah?
And I found that out after he did that. Otherwise, I've been like, dude, come rap. Well, but no.
I missed my shout out earlier. There's this guy named George Watsky that released his album To the Moon, and he does spoken word, slam poetry, that kind of thing.
Very cool.
And he's known for being really like pop reference, like lots of pop references, lots of current news, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And he can rap real fast.
I was going with, this sounds like nerdcore, but then current news, no longer nerdcore. So, cool. So that's getting a project off the ground. That's our thoughts. Do you have any thoughts on getting a project off the ground?
Try not to annoy the people around you while you're getting a project off the ground.
It's unavoidable.
It's totally avoidable, but
Unavoidable.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's unavoidable because you're not that considerate.
I love you too, dear. All right, what's next? Everybody gets a trophy. This is my favorite section.
Yes.
We do this on every podcast. We don't put these up as the daily videos because nobody cares. But for those of you who have stuck around this far, thank you. Be sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And thank you for watching. And tell a friend. So we have our trophy. Now, Mike, I guess, is ordering us a little something for maybe next time, but...
Yes.
For now, this is our trophy. It is my giant, oversized lighter. And,
I expected the flames to be massive, but just normal flames.
I've got it turned way down.
Oh, okay. Well, you gotta show off. What?
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to give this award to Cody. And it's this is the Finally Getting Off Your Butt and Making It Happen award.
Thank you.
Way to go, dude.
I've been meaning to get this for a long time.
Yeah,
Thank
dude.
you, everyone.
So now you give somebody else a trophy in the room. You make it up for them.
I'm going to give Carissa this award for putting up with Dawn because that is infinite patience.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think I've ever actually.
There you go.
Takes way more pressure than I thought it would.
That's why I don't use it. It's a novelty.
Hard fit in your pocket.
I don't know. Don's got some pretty deep pockets.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when your pants are as big as mine.
Is that where you store all your money?
No,
Oh, okay.
I don't have any money.
Sorry, dude.
I just keep buying stuff. All right.
So I would like to give this award to George for having the coolest hobby that I've ever heard of on this show.
Okay.
You should see the videos.
I'm gonna have to, apparently.
He was just sitting there chit-chatting with us the other day while he was doing it. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets that way.
Because I was like, I can do 3 a little. And you're like, yeah, you can do 3 a little. But, like, he's got these whole things.
It's
Can't even
very
describe
impressive.
They're on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Put your hand up.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a card to to whichever video you want me to show people.
All right. I have some good
When you get
fire
home,
staff stuff.
Yeah, when
that
you
I
get
recorded.
when you get home, you send it to me.
I will.
All right. And George, do you have any words?
For you,
Sure.
for this trophy,
Sure.
you're the only one left.
I guess I am.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to give you this trophy, and I'm having trouble thinking of a reason. What have you been doing lately, dude? Like seriously.
I've been making music and video, and that's what I've been doing.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
But seriously, you are like one of the hardest workers I know,
Hey, thank you.
and you deserve this giant lighter.
I get it from my grandfather, who's not feeling great, but once we get done with this, I'll go call for an update. So that's the show, everybody. Thank you for watching. Be sure to help a friend subscribe as well to the channel. We're just trying to get the word out. We're just trying to make music. So always be good to each other, and thanks for watching. And on that note,